حلقة جديدة من FX Wheels. حلقتنا اليوم رح نحكي عن السرعة. رح بتشوفوا أول شي فيديوز لتعرفوا عن شو عم نحكي، من بعدها رح نرجع نعمل مقابلة حصرية مع أسرع شخص بالعالم يلي قدر بسيارته يلي هو عملها يوصل لأكثر من 1000 كيلومتر بالساعة. Hi, Mario Saaiby. Nice to meet you.
Andy Green, it's a pleasure to meet you.
Can you please introduce yourself?
I'm Wing Commander Andy Green. I'm a fighter pilot in the UK's Royal Air Force. Lucky enough to have flown jet fighters for the British military. Lucky enough also to have set the current world land speed record at 1,228 kilometres an hour. And my reason for being here in beautiful sunny Dubai today is I've also managed to drive the Bentley Mulsanne at Bonneville, conducting the world's fastest interview last year. My route to motor racing has been very, very unusual. First of all, I'm a trained mathematician, so I'm very much a scientist by training. I then became a fighter pilot with the British military and subsequently became involved 20 years ago now in the world land speed record with a team called the Thrust Supersonic Car. And 16 years ago, in fact 16 years and 15 days ago today, we set the first and only supersonic world land speed record.
What is the link between you and the Bentley?
When Bentley were looking at new Bentley Mulsanne, which is a very unusual car. It's not based on a standard chassis, it's not using a standard bodywork. Pretty much every component in the car is bespoke. And they had produced a car they were very, very proud of, and they wanted a way of advertising this car and promoting it. They asked a small handful of people around the world to talk about their vision of the future and how Bentley's vision of the bespoke motor car related to that. And my particular bit of this series was the vision of speed for the future. And we took the Bentley Mulsanne out to the Bonneville Salt Flats, the home of the world land speed record, to do the world's fastest interview, which was an extraordinary experience, driving a car at 300 kilometres an hour on the salt flats on a slippery surface with 5 people in the car, 2 cameramen, a producer and a sound man, in a car that had literally driven from the showroom to the salt flats and was then ready to go flat out at one of the fastest luxury performance car speeds ever, doing all of that filming in one day to produce this video. So it was a real thrill for me to do that. It was a real surprise to find out how extraordinary the Bentley Mulsanne was, and as a result of which Bentley Visionary Films have been very, very successful, and they've asked me here to Dubai just to talk about the amazing experience of taking that car to Bonneville last year. This car's approaching 190 miles an hour into this amazing piece of technology.
Can you please tell us about your achievements?
As a fighter pilot, I became involved in the world land speed record back in the mid-90s when Richard Noble and his team were building the Thrust Supersonic car, aiming to produce the first record in history faster than the speed of sound. And my job was to help to design and then build and test the world's most powerful land speed record car, the world's most powerful car ever. We had built a car that's 17 metres long, 4 metres wide, it weighed 10 tonnes, and at peak speed did 1,228 kilometres an hour. The technology to do that, for instance the precision we needed to keep the car on the ground. Running at full speed along the ground, if the car is 1 degree too much nose down, the car will generate 10 tonnes of download on the front of the car and the suspension will be crushed. Now, as my point of view as a driver, that is not a good thing. 1 degree too much nose up and the front of the car will generate 10 tonnes of lift. The front of the car will come off the ground so violently that the car literally will be torn apart. The bodywork will come off, the engines will tear out of the car and it will be destroyed, which from my point of view as the driver is a really bad thing. So we had to get the angle very, very precise and test it repeatedly 10 kilometres an hour faster on each run. The most demanding, precise driving task I've ever had to do, so that we could check the download, adjust the aerodynamics to get the set of the car exactly right and to get it set up. The final result in 1997, the first supersonic and still the only supersonic world land speed record. 16 years later, we still hold that record. To go at supersonic speeds, the era of trying to take a car engine and drive through a gearbox and through the wheels is gone. It's impossible. Even if you could get enough power into the car, and we're talking about, to go at those kind of speeds, 100,000 horsepower. If you could build an engine with that much power in it, you couldn't physically put it through the tyres and into the wheels. So the only way to go at these sorts of speeds is to actually use pure thrust, so jet engines and rocket engines. And for the current record car, the thrust supersonic car, we use 2 Phantom jet engines, producing a total of 20 tonnes of thrust and the equivalent thrust horsepower, almost 100,000 thrust horsepower. The most powerful car on the planet.
What is the fastest record time?
Well, the fastest, the peak speed that we actually set the land speed record, it's faster than the speed of sound, literally faster than a speeding bullet, 1,228 kilometres an hour. It is very difficult to imagine what that speed looks like, but if you can picture a kilometre, passing through that kilometre in 2.9 seconds, that is the speed we were doing. Put that another way, 100 metres will then take under 1/3 of a second. Now the human blink reflex to close your eyes and then open them again, like that, takes 1/3 of a second. So a 100-metre football pitch, the car would cover that distance faster than you can physically blink your eyes. It's very fast. Speed in itself has no sensation. What is the fastest you've ever been? You've been on an aeroplane, so you've done 1,000 kilometres an hour in a jet airliner. You don't feel anything. You can sit there, drink an orange juice, watch the clouds go by. It's acceleration that you physically feel. The only time you really sense speed is through your eyes, and driving a car at over 1,200 kilometres an hour, the ground does go past incredibly quickly. I'm looking ahead maybe 500 metres, aiming where the car's going to go down the track, and that point will go underneath the car in less than 1.5 seconds. So the rate at which the ground is approaching me is just mind-blowing.
Which type of car are you driving for your next world record?
The next world record is another huge jump. We're now looking to do 1,600 kilometres per hour. So 1,609 to be exact. Where I come from, that's exactly 1,000 miles per hour. And that's pretty much the limit of technology. The car will be 13 metres long. It will be powered by a Eurofighter jet engine, the world's best jet fighter engine. It will also have its own hybrid rocket motor. To pump the oxidizer into the rocket motor, in 20 seconds, we have to move a tonne of oxidizer. And a tonne of oxidizer is twice the volume that is inside this chair, pumped in 20 seconds at high pressure. So just the rocket pump, it's about this big, will take between 600 and 700 horsepower. So we have 3 engines. The third engine in the car is a Cosworth Formula 1 engine just to turn the rocket pump. To give you an idea of how big the rocket is, we use a Formula 1 engine for the pump motor. The car itself will, from a standing start, be 20 kilometres away at the other end of the track in 2 minutes, and will accelerate at about twice the force of gravity. Now that's a little bit less than a Formula 1 car, but a Formula 1 car will sustain that for maybe 2 seconds. Our car will sustain it for nearly a minute to get up to 1,600 kilometres an hour. And even more startling, when I close the throttles, the drag on the car, when I shut down the jet and shut down the rocket, the drag on the car is so high that in the first second after I cut the power, the car will be slowing down at 3G. So in that 1 second, we will lose 100 kilometres an hour. So don't try this when you drive home, but if you could imagine driving at 100 kilometres an hour and coming to a complete stop in 1 second, that is 3G. Now to do that you would have to have a crash in a normal car. Yeah. For me, that will be a normal day in the office in the Bloodhound supersonic car, which is our new land speed record car. So the performance is going to be quite startling. And we're doing it for 2 reasons. First of all, because it's a great chance to show off the science and technology, but on a global stage. But more importantly, to actually reach out to the new generation of young people who will design and build and live in tomorrow's high technology, high energy, high efficiency, low carbon world. And whether it's the UK with our challenges on infrastructure and transport and energy, or it's Africa and the challenges of clean food and clean water, or it's Dubai with the spectacular growth and the startling development that you've got here. All of those places need science and technology, and they need engineers desperately to build that world of tomorrow that we're all going to live in. So our aim is to make all the technology accessible to young people. Every time we run the Bloodhound car, we will be running live video. We've got 12 cameras on the car, and we're running live video straight on the internet, so you can watch it on your phone at home. We're running live data, so you can actually mark our homework and look at all the data live at school or at home. You can have your own global science experiment with millions and millions of people following along. And all of that's going to happen over the next 2 to 3 years. 2015, we'll be running this car up to 1,600 kilometres an hour, jet and rocket powered, and the whole world will be sitting over my shoulder with the cockpit camera watching it live. The challenge to doing 1,600 kilometres an hour, in very simple terms, because we're using a hand-cleared track in South Africa, 20 kilometres long. 300 people have spent 3 years grooming this track so it is perfect. So the only thing we have to do, there's no obstacles, there's no stones out there, there's no other vehicles out there. In order to keep the car safe, the only thing we have to do is to keep all the wheels on the ground all the time. So it's the aerodynamics and the vehicle's loads which are key, because the loads on the vehicle aerodynamically are absolutely huge. And we have spent 5 years working with some of the world's leading experts on the aerodynamic shape of modelling, and we will now, having built the car, we're going to spend 2 years step by step testing it to make sure the model is exactly right and to refine the aerodynamics so the car will stay on the ground at 1,600 kilometres an hour.
Thank you for your time, and I wish you all the best.
Fantastic, Mario, it's been great to speak to you. Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.